and welcome back to the Zerlingo Foundation Unlocking Learning Disabilities podcast. We're joined again today with Lisa Costello from the Zerlingo Foundation Learning Evaluation Center. And so when we were kind of ending our conversation last time, we were talking about the types of treatments, medication, parent behavioral treatment, or parent behavioral...
behavioral parent training.
Yes, thank you. And then, classroom supports and what can we kind of do structurally in a classroom. But today I want to talk about wellness and what can we do at home as parents or guardians, grandparents. What can we do at home to set our kids up for the best success? So we're not constantly fighting about cleaning rooms and we're not fighting about doing chores. And what can we do at home to put some structures in place there? So do you want to start with the wellness piece of everything?
Yeah. And I love that you kind of summarized, because we talked about getting a good evaluation as a first step, then really thinking about those evidence-based treatments and what ones will work for your family. And then now we're thinking about, so what does this look like day to day? So we're assuming, parents or guardians have made their treatment plan and they're working with, their team to support their kiddo. And then now kind of day to day, what are all the things that we're thinking about and doing at home? Is that kind of where we're going?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I always think about and talk about those pillars of wellness. So regular physical exercise, getting good nutrition. Sleep is so important because sleep is often something that is disrupted in people with ADHD. So really thinking about, are they getting enough sleep? Is it quality sleep? And if it's not, going back to that team of people you're working with to say, we're really only getting 6 or 7 hours of sleep, because that can really impact learning and behavior and emotions. And we want to make sure that the foundation is there to do well. And if we're sleep deprived, then we're less likely to be able to show up day to day and meet the demands of the day.
Okay.
So those are pillars. And then I think also building in, free time, free space for kids to have those connections and positive interactions with you and with the family.
So not maybe scheduled from 3 o'clock when we get out of school through 8:30 when we go to bed, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do this, but giving some time to just kind of be and think about what we might be interested in doing, or maybe I'm going to go build with my Legos or whatever it is, but just giving some free time to figure out something else to do that's not just scheduled all the time. Is that kind of what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I think about it as like recharge time. And that's a foundation and just a routine and a structure that we build in. It's like, we need recharge time. And it's modeling it and teaching it that's something that we need. And it's something we need kind of throughout the lifespan as all individuals. And how do we build that in and give that to ourselves during the day? Okay. So at home, we just kind of touched on, the wellness aspect, but what are maybe some practical tools that parents could have to say, okay, we have this kiddo and they're great and they have a lot of energy and they're really into certain things and we can't really get our room clean. What kind of overall advice would you give that family to try to just chip away at making things a little smoother at home? Yeah, that's a great question. And I might back into it.
Sure. Yeah, that's fine.
And then you can tell me if I'm answering it or not answering it. So we'll pick it apart as we go. But so I think building that foundation, like we talked about from a wellness perspective, and thinking about parent-child or adult-child relationships in the house and really investing in that ratio of positive interactions and connections being much higher than corrective or negative types of interactions. And I really think about like a 5-to-1 ratio in that situation. And it's not positive like five praise statements, but it can be like a pat on the back, a hug, showing interest in something they're interested in. So those warm connections that are building relationships. And, I'm a parent, and in my house, when things are off, that ratio is usually off.
Right.
So that is the first thing that I go back to is that ratio of, have we had positive interactions? Where are we at? And that is something I go back to.
So practically speaking, so let's say, it's Saturday morning and we've got to get this room cleaned, right? Or we've got to get the chores done, whatever it is. Having 5 kind of positive interactions before corrective statement or a iterating what we need to have done? Or is it, how would you practically use that? Would you say, okay, we're going to get up and we're going to have like, hey, I was really proud of you. You did great this week at school, or you did what? I mean, how would you practically say those 5 things versus then also the, please get this room cleaned because it looks like a tornado is in here, or that sort of thing. How would you approach that situation, practically speaking?
Yeah, I think that's a really, interesting frame. And it took me a little bit off guard because I don't know that in that moment, I would do 5 to 1.
Right.
It's more of like, that's the field of the relationship.
Okay.
And it's much harder for me to, direct and kind of get us to the place that we need to go if our relationship is really kind of off kilter as far as, it's been more negative than I'd like it to be.
Right. So overall then in a day, you want to try to concentrate on having more positive and more positive interactions and really recognizing the good things that we've done.
Yeah, catching kids being good, calling out the good things that they're doing, doing those warm connections, all of that.
Okay.
And then you're getting very practical, which I love.
Yeah.
But it's also then not a prescription of I have to say 5 positives.
Yeah, so we don't need a list and say, okay, did 1, 2, when are we getting this room cleaned, that sort of thing. But just overall speaking, in a day, you want to try to have more positive comments, like you're saying, connections.
Warmth, yes, all of that. And being mindful.
Yeah.
I do think being mindful about how we set up a request or a demand with a kid is important. And then, so that positive foundation of relationship, then I'm going to take you to one more place before we get to, your question, is if they're built-in structures and routines around expectations that, we do this chore on this day and these are the steps for the chore, it becomes a part of what we do regularly and not a surprise, not, something brand new that feels like, oh my gosh, you're adding one more thing to my list and I wasn't expecting it. So kind of that foundation of positive relationships, routines and structures around how we get things done. And then now you're really getting at, so like, it's time.
Yeah, it's time to go. So for example, let's say our chore is to unload the dishwasher on Saturday morning. I'm just making this up. But so is that something where you would then remind on Friday, hey, remember tomorrow morning's Saturday and Saturday's our unload the dishwasher day. So we've given a warning on Friday, then we get up on Saturday and we maybe have a little time to recharge and be, hey, remember today is Saturday, so you are going to have to unload that dishwasher. And then we get to the dishwasher. Okay, here's how we do this. And maybe we have a visual schedule or something. And we say we do the silverware and then we do the plates or whatever. And just really making it very routine so that it becomes kind of rote memory after, 4 or 5 weeks of doing this. We give the reminder on Friday, the Saturday, and then it kind of becomes something they can do on their own. Is that how you would approach that?
So you always want to break a bigger task down into the component parts and walk kids through it. And then it depends on their age, right? Like how much scaffolding and support you need to do around that. But that the expectation is that the dishwasher is like fully empty when we're done. Like being very clear about this is the task, these are the steps, and how do we
and then being consistent, right? Being consistent to say this is going to happen every Saturday. Because if you are a parent or guardian and you say, well, we did it this one Saturday and then we forgot to do it like 3 Saturdays in a row, but then we went back to it. So then that's not helpful, right? We need to make sure that something is as consistent as it possibly can be so that it becomes a routine and not just something we try every 6 weeks when we remember to try it. Is that routine?
Make it more automatic and less of a lottery system of like, oh, maybe I will and maybe I won't have to do it. Thing.
Okay.
So that's why I like the structures and the routines. And not everything can fall into that, right? Like we're not rigid around all things, but you're asking about a very specific thing of like, this is an expectation that every Saturday morning we empty the dishwasher before we go and do our fun thing that we have planned. So setting it up that way and making it that when-then statement.
Yes.
When the dishwasher is empty, then we are going to the park and I'm so excited because you got those new rollerblades and we are, we're going to go out.
The when-then statement. Yes. When you have put on your shoes, then we can go outside. When you have whatever the thing is that they don't want to do, remind them we're doing this because then you get to do that kind of thing.
Yeah. And I think it's paying attention to the relationship factors because you asked of like, do I say it? And I know you were kind of setting it up. So I would say, no, you don't, you don't say the 5 to 1, but I do think you think about your tone, the way that, you're setting them up because it's probably something they don't love to do. And there might be more negative emotions associated with it. But if we can come with either a neutral or positive tone of like, you've really done this dishwasher task the last 3 weeks, and you've just like blown me away at how you get it done. And then we go do our stuff. That's coming up again tomorrow, and then the day that it happens you've been doing great with this. Let's get it done before 10 so we can go out, head to the park and use our rollerblades.
Okay. So just that very positive. And as parents and guardians, of course, that is like the hardest thing, right?
Always,
Stay positive. Yeah, thank you. But it really is that idea of just overall positive all the time, of trying to keep the good tone and stay calm and don't just, go off when you're upset. But just really that overall of trying. I mean, obviously not everything always works out the way that you hope, but just really trying to stay calm as much as possible.
Yeah, and that positive or neutral approach and thinking about, because we also know, I don't think we talked about this yet, is kids with ADHD are so used to getting many more corrective statements and, negative interactions from adults. And this is like on the whole, the population statistics around, like they're much more likely than other kids their age to get the no's, the don'ts, the stops, the quits, the nots. So that the heaviness of that takes toll, and that's why we really do kind of think about those ratios and pay attention to that. Yeah.
So if I've been at school all day and I've heard no 70 times, when I get home, I don't need to hear no again. I need some time, or I need, the recharge time. And I need this to be a safe zone for me to just be me and to have it not feel like something's wrong with me, right? Like this is just my safe place to be at home. So it's really about this. And of course, then with siblings and both parents or whoever's living at your house, just having positive all the way around. So how do you get, and I don't think there's a magic answer to this, but how do you work on having siblings who need different things? How do you say, okay, this may not look fair, but we're going to clean our room in stages. You can get it done in 1 day or 1 hour, and then that's fine for you and that works for you. And I'm going to expect that from you because you have that skill. But your brother or your sister, we're going to break this over the whole weekend or whatever. I mean, is there any kind of tips or ideas on how to do that as a family?
Great question. Yeah, my son had a teacher that I love the way she talked about it with the kids in the classroom. Is like we all need different tools to help us be successful, and framing things as tools, and we all have different ones.
Sure.
And describing it that way.
When you get a kid with ADHD and we go on Christmas break or we go on spring break or we go on summer break, the routine changes, right? So it's important as parents or guardians to keep the routine kind of as close to what you were doing during the school year as possible, or do you change the routine for summer, or how do you recommend keeping everything in balance during those times that should be really fun, but they also can cause a lot of problems, right? Because your routine changed and the anxiety maybe goes up a little and things are different in that sort of thing. So where do you fall on that?
Yeah. I mean, for me as a parent and a psychologist, I'm always prioritizing sleep.
Yes.
Because when sleep isn't there, that's when we see, more dysregulation in other places. So that is a priority to me, is how are we keeping consistent sleep routines.
Okay.
And then I think I would prioritize how are we balancing getting physical exercise, but also, giving time for that rest, that relaxation, restore. So those buckets of things, good sleep, balancing physical activity with downtime that, you're just doing activities that you enjoy.
Okay.
So bigger kind of areas and less specific of you need to, follow the routine the same exact way that you've followed it.
Yeah, keeping kind of the big picture still in mind, but then having some wiggle room because it is a break, right? It's a time to recharge and relax and do some different things and that sort of thing. Okay.
Yeah, and I think it can be helpful, if you're doing different activities, have a whiteboard in the kitchen, these are the things we're doing today. They can check them off as you go. So making it predictable within change is one thing that we do in our house. Is when the routines are different, we say this, this, and this, and then we kind of have the whiteboard to help us.
Yeah, figure out what's going to be different and how are we going to do this, and just not having any surprises and just being able to kind of have an idea of where are we going, what's the plan, what's today look like, sort of thing.
Yeah, and when we know what to expect, we're better able to meet expectations.
Yes. Yes.
When it's less clear, that can leave room for more challenges.
Sure.
But I do think we put pressure on ourselves as parents to do things perfectly. And there's not a perfect answer or a perfect way. For me, it's more keeping these big ideas in mind and working towards them, rather than beating ourselves up for, not getting the 5-to-1 ratio or not
and knowing, knowing what works best for your family. Because it's like every kid, they're not all going to, the same thing's not going to work for every single family. You may have different things. So
it never does. I've never met one family where it's exactly the same as another family.
Sure.
It is always very different. And that's the same as the individual too. It's always different.
Okay.
But we know in general that looking to these guideposts and following these things can help us move in the right direction. The way that you get there, can be tweaked.
Yes.
Changed to fit your family. But working towards those guideposts is important.
Well, I want to thank you again for talking with us today about kind of the home aspect of ADHD and what can we do at home as parents and guardians for the kiddos. And next time we meet, let's talk about what can we do in a classroom and what teachers can do to help our ADHD kids.
Absolutely.
Thank you again.